Ladies and gentlemen, what's up? This is BC. I'm joined with Blaine again, another Team BC production for you guys. We wanted to do a presentation on out of the box lead sources, some things that we're doing now, some things we've done in the past, just to help you, uh, aside from the traditional stuff that we beat you over the head with 24/7, 365. We wanted to come at you from a different angle to see if maybe there's some lead sources out there that you haven't thought of, maybe you've heard of and haven't actually implemented, or something that could spice up your lead generation a little bit. So we're going to do a little deep dive. It'll be fun. I'm going to let Blaine go first. He's had a ton of experience in the industry. I know he has his own quirky ideas too. So I thought it would be cool to have him on. So, Blaine, the floor is yours, my friend.
Thank you, kind sir. Hello, everyone. My name is Blaine Cruz. For most of you, probably don't even know who the heck I am. I just recently joined Team BC. I had joined Real underneath Bryan, and we just had been collaborating so much, and we wanted to go to the next level. So just here I am. I joined Team BC to kind of help you guys out and maybe hopefully give you some information here. I've been licensed since 2007, but really did not buckle down and get serious about it until 2015. So I do have a few years underneath my belt, and hopefully some of this you will find useful. So basically, when it comes to generating leads and attracting people, there's two schools of thought. There's two ways to go about it. The first is the more marketing approach, which is very, very passive. This basically you're putting your stuff out there and you are just hoping that it is going to attract people. And examples of this is like you're on social media, you're posting about, hey, I just closed this property, I just listed this. Oh, hey, look at this fantastic house, and all that. Also, ads, the same thing. You post ads, talking about what services you offer, or maybe even some properties or anything along those lines. Another marketing kind of more passive than anything is like print media, doing print ads, doing mailers like postcards and all of that, and even your website. Anything that you're trying to drag people and drag them into you, and so that they are coming to you, and you're just kind of fishing, right? You're just putting it out there, and you're pulling in the line when they show up. The other avenue is sales. This is more active. It's generally more aggressive because you're going out there and hunting. So that's really the difference is you're going out and you're tracking down your lead and you're trying to snare them, as opposed to fishing, which is, you're hoping to pull them into you. And really, so these active leads, a lot of it is going to be things like doing outbound prospecting. So maybe you're doing cold calls, you're calling expireds, you're doing circle dialing. Those are the types of things that are more of the sales oriented and being more aggressive. Or if something that Bryan is known for is door knocking, going out to doors, knocking on the doors, and just trying to generate business and get leads that way. So those are really the two different paths you can go down. And sometimes it might be a little hybrid of both, in between on some of these that I'm going to talk about. But just a last bit of theory here for you, and then I'm going to start giving you in some actual lead sources before I turn it over to Bryan and he gives you some of his. Um, Really, you need to have at minimum, I would say, and this is all anecdotal, right? Um, you need to have at least three really strong lead sources that you are using to generate your business. And some people may say, hey, you know what, my sphere of influence, I'm getting a deal a year. That's not going to generate you business. You don't know enough people to come and survive in this industry. So you're going to need some other avenues, and you're going to need at least three strong ones to do that. So for a table to stand, it's got to have, like three legs, right? At least. I know they've got the two sides, but that's four technically. But um, regardless of if they're joined or not, but really you need to have like three legs. But I say you also need to have a fourth one, which is whatever you're testing at the moment. So you're going to build up your three legs, and then you're going to develop a fourth one to see if you can replace one of those three because your return is going to be so much better. You know, so instead of getting $2 for every dollar, maybe the one you've tested is getting you $3 for every one, you know? And with that theory is if you're paying and using your money to generate leads, and I know plenty of people are out there and they're purchasing leads from Zillow or whatever. I'm not into that personally, but I can tell you this, if you're doing something like that, your budget should be unlimited because as long as you're getting a return, you should be able to just keep churning money into it, right? And it's going to keep producing. But you want to always find and search for something that has that better return. So you can have more than three legs, you can have more than four, but at minimum, you need three in whatever you're testing. But you also have to keep in mind you're limited by your time and how many you can manage. It doesn't do good to have six different lead sources when you're a one person shop and you can really only handle one. And that's where maybe having a mixture of marketing lead sources and one of the more active ones might come in with that. So, with knowing those theories, now here I'm going to talk about some of the ones that I have used in the past, and some of which has actually gotten me through really rough years, like this one, where, 74% of agents haven't even closed a deal, right? So, one of the ones that really helped me through those lean months is for rent by owners. I'm sure everyone's heard of expireds. They've heard of circle prospecting. You probably even heard of for sale by owners, but an untapped potential is the for rent by owners. So these are people who, for whatever reason, they're investors, or maybe they weren't able to originally sell their house. They have their house up for rent and they're trying to do it themselves. So you basically get this data, and there's several different sources you can get this data from. Um, I just purchase it, and basically you reach out to them and you approach it from, hey, is this still available? Do you have applications on it? And then you just kind of lead into trying to see if they are open to having a conversation about seeing what you could do to place a very qualified tenant in there for them. Now, yes, for leases, you do not make as much as you do with a sales transaction. However, if you're supplementing your sales transactions with some very solid lease listings, in a lot of instances, you will get both sides because a lot of agents will not use an agent for renting a place. I think out of five of the lease listings I've had this year, only one had an agent with them. So I've got 100% of those commissions, which, $2,000 a pop or more is doing pretty good. It supplements any sell, excuse me, it supplements any sales, um, any lack of sales I may be having at that current month, and it helps bolster my cash reserves to do what I need to do, which is basically survive and thrive, which is what we want for everyone here. Uh, and kind of with some overlap with that are absentee owners. These are people, some of them, they have the house, they have tenants in them, but they eventually want to get those tenants out of there, so they want to sell. Those you can reach out about selling the property, maybe renting it out for them. There's a double opportunity there. Some of them, they may not even be renting it out. They just hold the property and they're there, maybe a month out of the year. And after a while, they get tired of just holding that property and all the expenses for something that they enjoy 1 month out of the year when they could probably just rent a room somewhere or do an Airbnb or whatever. So those are also a great source of possible leads for sales and for rentals. Another great source uh, of getting leads, especially for probate and divorce transactions, are make connections with family law attorneys, ones that handle probates, after someone passes away, and if they have a will or don't have a will, they have to go through the court system. Many of those attorneys make recommendations for their clients to help them get a property sold. And so developing that relationship with attorneys will definitely help you. And the same thing for divorce attorneys as well. You know, people are getting divorces all the time. The rate's super high, and a lot of times there's a home involved. And so, in a lot of instances, one party gets control over hiring the real estate agent. Maybe they both are working on getting that done, but they look to the attorney to make that recommendation, and so they do. Because a lot of the times, even if they know a real estate agent, they want an unknown party who's a little bit more neutral and not someone who's going to take sides. So they will ask the attorney for their recommendation. So that's another great one as well. And there's a countless number of other situations of where an attorney may be making recommendations, bankruptcy attorneys, anything along those lines. You gotta have to start thinking of what kind of people are in scenarios where they are dealing with people who may be looking to buy or sell property. Okay. And another one of that is uh, like directors at nursing homes. You know, the elderly are going into these assisted living facilities or outright nursing homes, and they've got a property they have to unload. They have to help pay for those really expensive rooms and all the assistance and everything else in there. So that's another great source if you can develop that relationship. You go in there with a few different ways, trying to build that relationship, and it's all about what you can do for them to help them do their job. It's about trying to give, and not take. Too many people go in with the wrong attitude of just trying to take and get. What can I get? What can I get? What can I get? How many of you get calls from title reps, mortgage lenders, all these other people who all they want is to see what you can do for them, what you can bring to them. If you go at these lead sources like the attorneys, the nursing home directors, funeral directors, that's another one. It's a lot more sensitive because someone has passed away, but they are around people who are talking about what they need to do and what these scenarios are, and they make recommendations, they make these kind of connections. So you need to develop these relationships with people like this and see what you can do for them, and then in turn, see how you can help them help their clients. That's the angle that you need to go in those scenarios. And I've got one more little quick out of the box thing that I have never seen anyone talk about. Now, I know that there's possibly a chance that someone has talked to you about for rent by owners or absentee owners or even attorneys and whatever, but almost no one thinks of going to estate sales or garage sales and seeing what's going on with the owners of those homes. A lot of time before people move, before they consider moving, before they consider listing their house, they want to purge things they don't need. So they have open houses. They have garage sales, or if it's a probate, they may be doing an estate sale or something along those lines. But it's a great opportunity to do the equivalent of door knocking and just go there and talk to the owners and really see what their situation is and see if there's a way that you can possibly help them. We are in a service business, we are in a sales business, and we are selling our service on how we can help them achieve their real estate goals. And that was just a little quick hit there, Bryan. And I kind of made it short because I know you have a lot of other ones that people haven't really thought about in general. I know from having watched you and followed you for so long, you did some wild ones that most people probably would never think about. So I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Cool, man. Yeah. Thank you, dude. Appreciate it. Yeah, especially the nursing home one, man. Like some of those things are like they're right there, but people either don't think about it or don't pay attention to it. And the one that I can start with that I think is kind of tied to that because you can tie the strategy in with it is, something that I did, and this really uh, became something I did a long time ago, but it really became apparent to me how important and effective it was after 2020 when COVID hit and everything got shut down. Seeing a lot of local and medium-sized businesses in the areas that I lived in struggling really upset me because the way that the government shut things down is they left the big corporations open, but they shut down the mom and pop shops. And I was like, man, it really broke my heart because us being business owners, we understand that. So I said, you know what? This strategy that I used to use, I'm going to supercharge it now. So in essence, this is what I did. I created a strategy, and this is a long-term strategy, right? I mean, it could get you deals right now, but it's really something that you have to plan that 6 and 12 months from now will really snowball, which is what it did for me. I started going around and said, hey, I already frequent, visit, and like a lot of local and medium sized businesses, right? So let's say somebody starting from scratch. What you want to do, and I would start this strategy first with businesses and people that you already know so you can work out the kinks and become smooth with it. So I'd go to let's say my barber, right? One of my old barbers. I remember talking to him one day. I said, hey, man, I've been coming here for a long time. I'd love to do some free marketing for your shop. Would you be cool with that? Would you want that? And by the way, I've never had anybody ever tell me no, right? They're like, oh yeah, sure. Like, what do you have in mind? And I said, man, I would love to sit down with you and shoot an interview about, how you started the business, what brought up the idea, when you officially opened the place, right? And maybe whatever you're comfortable sharing, right? And again, they're like, sure. So I set up another time. I'm not going to do it there. I'll set up another time a week later, 2 weeks later, whatever works with their schedule to do an interview. And I'll sit down with them and we'll do a short interview. It could be 5 minutes, it could be 10 minutes. That's really up to you. Really, the whole point is I always emphasize that you ask at least these three questions, which is when they opened and why they opened, what makes their shop or their store different from other options in the area. And then number three, why somebody should come to that business or store, right? And you can evolve those questions depending on where you're going, right? If it's a restaurant, I'm going to say, well, why should somebody come eat here versus all the other restaurants in town, right? Or if it's a gym, why should somebody come train here versus all the other gyms here in the city? Now, you can add other questions to that, but those are always the three that I ask because I wanted them to tell a story and feature their business. Now, from there, I'd blast it out to my database. I would upload the interview to YouTube. I would put clips, on Instagram and Facebook and all that. And I would tag them. And nowadays, it's way more sophisticated. You can invite to collaborate with the business, right? Now, super simple, right? And at the end of that video, I would say, hey, great. I'm going to clean it up, right? Clip it a little bit. And then before I release it, I'd love to get your approval. They're going to say, sure. So at that moment is when I get their information. I get their number, their email, and all their personal contact information. So now I've grabbed the personal contact information of a head manager or owner. Most of the time, it's going to be the owner of a store. They're added into my database now, which is great. Then I have this little video. I send it to them. They approve it. From there, you post it. Now, what people forget is long term, let's say you do one or two of these every week. What do you think is going to happen with your reputation as an agent if over the next 3, 4, 5 months, people have seen you do 10, 20, 30 interviews with local businesses? Because remember, it's more sophisticated now. They'll invite you as a collaborator on their Instagram, on their YouTube. You can do it on YouTube now too. I just did a video recently where I invited one of my students who I interviewed, who has his own channel, as a collaborator. So now when you watch the video, instead of just showing my channel, it shows my channel and his. So it's on his profile now and mine. That's what happens when you do this on Instagram and Facebook is your stuff pops up on their profile and yours. So now you're doing this with a lot of businesses. You're adding these people into your database, but long term, you're also building that reputation as that realtor. Because what I started noticing was a lot of people were reaching out to me saying, man, I think it's incredible that you're supporting and championing local businesses. This is awesome. I've never seen a realtor do something like this. So long term, I've had great relationships with people that I've met through that. I've done multiple transactions with some of them who ended up buying investment properties or moving themselves. I've also referred big commercial deals that they wanted to do to one of my commercial business partners. So I've lost count of how many deals I've done now by referral or with that crew. But for about a year, year and a half, I did that religiously every week. I did at least one, if not two interviews every single week. Now, if you're brand new to this, it might take some time, right? You might have to go to the stores, chat people up, become a friendly face, and then work your way to asking for the owner and talking to them, right? I would always feature them in my stories. I would tag them so they notice me, right? And they're going to share your stuff and they'll start talking to you or at least recognizing who you are. But that's the social part of being a realtor is we got to go out there and show our face, right? So if you start this strategy already with people that you know, whether they're local or bigger businesses or whatever, you'll work out the kinks and you'll get a lot more comfortable. So after you do 3 or 4, by the time you go to your 5th or 6th one and it's a new business, you've already done it a few times and you're not going to be so nervous, right? You'll have it figured out. Now, the cool thing about this is not only is that a long-term strategy, I did this same exact thing with builders and developers. Because when I would drive by, like you guys will see this. And now I'm not necessarily talking about the big builders like Lennar and all those guys. They already have their staff and that's different. I would still recommend you go there and shoot content for sure. But I wouldn't consider that out of the box, right? Whenever I saw a chain link fence or a fence and I'd have a sign of like a developer or a development company, I would call it. I would stop and call it. Sometimes the actual developer puts his number there. It's not always. But I would get in contact with somebody and ask them, hey, the manager or the developer, when are they going to be there? I'd love to check out this plot, right? I'm a local realtor. I'd love to check it out or have a conversation about the project. And almost always they tell me, oh, he's going to be there Saturday, or they'll tell me the day, right? Now, when I show up, whether that developer's there or it's just workers, I ask the questions and then I get in front of them. If it's the workers, I try to find an on-site manager or the developer, right? But if I actually call and get a hold of them and I have a manager or developer there, I have the same conversation I had with the person at the store and the business. I say, hey, I'm a local realtor. I'd love to feature this project. Would you be down to have either an interview where you kind of describe it, or maybe I can come every couple of weeks and show the development of the project and we can do something together. Again, I've never had anybody tell me no. In fact, when you approach developers like this, oftentimes a lot of them already have some footage. And since you're a realtor, they will willingly give you high def photos and videos for you to promote on your Instagram and your social media. I did that with the team a couple of years ago with that new Bentley building here in Miami. And they gave us a whole Google Drive folder with hundreds of videos and pictures. It was incredible. And we used that for marketing. And they let us go back and do our own. Right. And that was a big, big development. With these small guys, if you can get the developer to do an interview with you or talk about the project, it's incredible. Because then again, you'll add him to your database, you'll get in closer proximity with them. And this is what happens. Most of the time when I talk to them, if they're using a realtor, most of them already have one or a company that they work with. What I'm waiting for though is when they're in my database and we keep in touch and then we do this marketing stuff, I'm positioning myself. Because I did that for like 2 years with probably 10 or a dozen developers. And over those 2 years, I actually had 2 or 3 of them eventually reach out to me to say, hey, we no longer work with that person, or that person doesn't work with us anymore or is out of the business. We'd love to give you a shot. And I've interviewed and gotten some of those roles to represent small and medium-sized development projects. So again, this one's more of a longer term one, but if you combine the businesses with doing this at developers, it's amazing. The only thing is you have to be vigilant. When you're driving and you see these fences and these signs, stop and call them, right? I to this day, have probably 100 or 150 small and medium-sized business owners in my database and about 10 or 12 of these developers. And I have a few more here in Miami too that I've met. One of them I met at the park working out randomly, but I've done some stuff with him too. I've interviewed him on my other YouTube channel. David, he's a cool guy, right? There's another one I'm working with here that I met one of his partners at a networking event that I hosted, which by the way is another out of the box lead source. If you guys, wherever you're at locally, host events and get-togethers and just make it a networking event. It doesn't even have to be real estate, because from there, I've made connections, found buyers and sellers, or found other vendors that we can go back and forth with in a mutually beneficial relationship. We can do content together. right? They can send me people, I can send them people, but I had to host. Now I had an office. I had two offices here before in Miami. I got rid of them now, but I did that. If not, find a local place and host it yourself. A lot of these businesses that you meet and get in contact with and build a relationship with, you can then approach them later and ask them, hey, would it be cool if I held an event here? Many of them will let you, or they'll charge you a very minimal fee to host in their store or in their location an event like that. I've done that countless times and they're happy to host me. One of the last events I did here in Miami for my coaching members, I did it off Lincoln Road, pretty close to South Beach. It was a escape room. I met the lady on the street right after I had moved here. And we got to talking, and she's like, oh, yeah, I own and I manage an escape room. I was like, oh, there's an escape room here. And we went and she showed me. And I said, you know what? I actually have a coaching event here I need in a couple months. Have you ever thought about renting the place out? She's like, you know what? I've never thought about it. And I was like, yeah, I got about 150 people coming. Would you do it? And she agreed. We ended up doing an interview, right? I still talk to her to this day. But that was, again, an opportunity that was created because of a connection that I made. So the networking events are awesome. Interviewing the small businesses and developers is also cool. And one of them that Blaine brought up to me that I had completely forgotten about, but I've done it, is using an interest or hobby of yours to attract clients. So back in the day, I've gone through owning a ton of cars. I had a Lamborghini for a couple of years, and I was always big when I was still in California in the car scene. And through the car scene, I was able to meet a ton of people. And this is even before I had the Lamborghini and all the Porsche and all those fancy cars. I infiltrated that community because I was a car enthusiast. And at the meetups and the Saturday shows and the Sunday shows, I met a lot of people that were medium and high net worth. And we made connections and friendships. We went out together. I befriended them. I added a lot of them to my database. We followed each other on Instagram and social media. And through that, I did some business. But I don't want people to just think it's cars. Cars is the vehicle, right? Anytime you have a hobby or interest, you can use that to generate leads, because now you're going to be in a group of 10, 50, 100 people, and you meet these people and you befriend them and you spend time with them. How you have conversations with people, align with them, and then eventually convert them to customers is the story here. Are you just showing up and being a mute or a wallflower, or are you engaging with people? Because I wouldn't just walk up to people, hey, here's my business card, I'm a realtor, right? But we would vibe about cars and we would talk. And eventually, when people get comfortable with you, hey, what do you do? What do you do for work, right? That naturally happens in conversation when you're meeting people and you're getting to know them. And when it got to that, I was like, well, I run a real estate team and I do this. And then they're like, oh, cool, I do XYZ. And we would keep talking, but I would get their number. Hey, cool, man, let me text you. And you exchange information. You put them in your database and now you're good to go. But the point is, the hobby or interest that you have is getting your ASS out of the house and to an event or a place where you meet people and talk to them. That's the number one thing that I'm emphasizing here. Talking to the businesses and developments makes you go out there and talk to people, right? Doing the networking events, you have to host and then show up and organize it and run it. You want to do these interests? You got to go out for your hobby, meet people the once a week or whatever it is, and you got to do it. That's the point. None of this is going to be passive. He brought it up earlier. Everyone right now is looking to do passive marketing, which is great if you have the budget. But let's be real. Most people in the industry right now do not have the budget. They got to get out there and meet people, talk to people, and make contacts. These are a little bit more out of the box, but they're simple in their execution. So again, if you have a hobby and interest, car club, whatever it is, maybe do that once or twice a week. Do one or two of the business interviews. Anytime you're driving by in a neighborhood and you see the fence with the sign of a development, call them. These are just little things that you sprinkle on. Because when I tallied this up after that year of doing this, I think that first year I had met 6 developers that I actually had an interview with and chat with, and we exchanged information, and a good, I want to say at least 40 to 50 businesses. I can't remember, right? I can't remember the exact number. Now, that first year, I maybe got one deal or one referral from them. But the second year, from just that group that I did the first year, I think I did an extra 7 or 8 transactions, either from them directly or somebody that they referred to me. And these weren't Mickey Mouse deals. A lot of them were buying like investment properties or a second home, and they were like 800K, $1 million, $2 million. Because again, these people own businesses. Most of them have money or already own property. I turned one of them into an investor. because the next one I can give you is something that actually helped one of my team members do. Brett, shout out to him, right? He's on my team. He's here in Palm Beach, in West Palm Beach. And he really liked the investment side. So I brought the idea to him years ago. I said, why don't you start like an educational series where you start teaching people in your database how to become investors? Because a lot of them have bought a home, they're there, they may move, they may not, but a lot of them are sitting on equity and they don't know anything about investing in real estate and how simple it is. And many of them more than likely have the capability. So he started an educational series that he would do for his database. Now, I would assume anybody watching this has and is building a database, right? So, what he did was once a week, he'd shoot a video and an email showing people the process. Then, eventually, after about 12 to 16 weeks, he did an event that he invited people to. It was great. He recorded it, he sent it out to the database. And from there, in those 3 or 4 months, he started having conversations with some of them. And by the end of, I think, 6 months, he said he had 3 or 4 new people from his database that ended up becoming investors. And after that, most of them purchased multiple properties and more kept trickling in. But he had to lay that foundation with that kind of educational thing. And for the people who are watching this on YouTube, I just interviewed Brett a couple days ago. I don't know why that video has like no views, but definitely go on the channel and look back like a couple days and you'll see it. It said how Realtor turned his clients into investors. And we talk about this a little bit more in detail. But a lot of people do not realize the gold and opportunities they have within their database. And this is why myself, Blaine, and everyone who knows will tell you build and work your database. You have to, because even within that, you have additional opportunities like this, right? Cool. I think that's good. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add, Blaine. I'll throw you up here again, and you're the pinned video again. Did you want to add anything to that, or think anything that we missed, or maybe that we should go into more detail?
All your stuff was solid, and I like that you were able to go into a lot more detail than I could on some of mine, that's for sure. And I think one of the key things people need to think about too when they're trying to leverage their hobby into generating leads and business is it has to be something that's social. You have to have some kind of social aspect to it. You can't be woodworking in your garage and expect to get leads while you're hanging out solo in your garage, right? That's not going to work. You have to you have to have a hobby, or at least your hobby has to feature something to where you go and meet other people. I mean, if you're someone who works on cars, that's fantastic. But you go to car shows, right? That's where you're going to meet people. I mean, I don't know what a woodworker would go to. I don't know, the lumberyard. But, you know, it has to have some kind of social aspect. You have to be around people and you have to interact with them. And you can't, within 5 minutes, trying to shove your business card down their throat. You have to generate an actual kind of relationship in order to eventually get some kind of business from them, in that scenario. And if you go with the focus of I am going to generate business from this, you might be going down the wrong path. You have to be a little bit more zen about it and go for what you can do and what you can provide and what kind of interaction you can start in developing these relationships. In a lot of instances, those transactions and stuff will come out of that eventually, right? And it depends too on the lead source as well. If you're going to attorneys, like I mentioned, that's a little bit more where you can kind of be a little bit more direct in what you're going to do and what you're going for. But you have to be able to offer them something. Say, hey, I know if you've got clients who need to get a value for their home, let me know. I'll be more than happy to provide that data for you. If you need a realtor to come in and testify in court over something about real estate, I'm always available to do that. You got to give that stuff out there and develop that relationship and instead of just trying to take, instead of going to these attorneys and going, hey, you got any people who are divorcing and need to sell? You can't go about it that way. You have to, you have to kind of figure out an angle on how you can help them help their
Mm.
clients, and the rest will come.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, like you, when I brought up the whole thing with going to the businesses and stuff, I'm not asking for anything as soon as I show up. This is a collaborative thing. Let me promote your business, and the whole point, like I told you guys, that works because if you already start with businesses that and you frequent the store or the owner, whatever it is, you already support the business. So a lot of times when I would approach these people, they already knew me by first name because we had talked, we chatted, and I like that business for whatever reason anyway. I'd go and have a drink there once or twice a week or whatever it was. So it made it that much easier. But he's right. I'm not going in there like, hey, I'm Mr. Super Realtor, give me business. It's, hey, I like your business. I want to support it. And later on, you guys have to understand that the law of reciprocity always comes back. Like if you do stuff for people, eventually they're going to be like, you know what? This dude's been hooking us up. Like they're going to feel that urge, right? To want to. This is why companies will do giveaways and samples at Costco and all that. They know if we give enough away, people are going to come. And that's the whole point here. But thanks for joining me, Blaine. Pretty cool. I really enjoy doing these. We've been doing like one a week, and we're probably going to continue doing that because we're beasts. But one thing I want to say, man, I'm going to pin you again. First of all, congratulations to Blaine. What was it? Three listings in 2 weeks, something like that.
3 listings in 2 weeks. Yeah,
What a
it was
beast.
a pretty wild. It's been a pretty wild week. So yeah, so I'm pretty grateful, and that was actually following up with some of my lead sources, and going out there and hunting. One of them was kind of came to me. It was a previous client who decided they wanted to get into investing, and so they wanted my help, and so we're going to be doing. I'll be handling all their transactions on their sales, and so it'll be hopefully the first of very many.
Yeah.
But
Congratulations,
yeah,
man. Crushing it.
yeah, no, I appreciate it, and the whole relationship with the team BC, the whole community we have together has been very helpful and very motivating to me as well. It gets very when you're prospecting like I do, so. Two of these came from calling expireds and circle prospecting or whatever. And so it just really, and those are very solitary things. So having the community of the Team BC stuff where we do have some interacting, it keeps the drive and motivated there because everyone's a hustler, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad I'm on board now. It's fantastic, and I just love being in the proximity of so many people who kick ass.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're happy to have you, bro. Like that's the whole reason I approached you about it in the first place, man. I appreciate you. But Blaine is crushing it. And I really just want to, end this thing by saying, obviously we work together at Team BC. We're at Real Brokerage. If you guys have any questions, if you're looking for coaching and training, I have a ton of links in the description from like free resources. You can schedule a call to talk about Real. You can schedule a strategy call to talk about Team BC or coaching. It's really up to you guys, right? You have a bunch of resources down there. So you click and you go towards what you want. Blaine is in the Houston, Texas area. I am still in Miami, Florida at the moment. So you can reach out to us personally as well on Instagram or Facebook, whatever you want. But we'll continue to announce the presentations. If you're not on my email list, any of the free resources below will automatically add you to it as whenever we do these. I usually will send out an email blast. I didn't on these, but normally I do. So that'll kind of keep you up to date on what we're doing locally. Same thing with tours, events, and all that fun stuff. So thanks for jumping on, Blaine. Appreciate you. And
Thank you.
signing off. See you guys.